I spoke to the Chinese embassy in London and they said, with a short layover of about 3 to 6 hours, you don't need a visa. I'm an Indian citizen residing in UK for about 14 years. And I was traveling on my holiday from London Gatwick to Japan via a transit in Shanghai. And basically, I went past the e-gates, happily queuing up for the security gates to transfer onto my next flight onto Osaka in Japan. And one of the officials from the Chinese immigration came over and singled me out of the queue, basically said, look, India, took my name and something and took me out. So I asked her what is happening, and she basically didn't say much and just basically asked me to follow her. Took me close to the e-gates where there is the immigration the manual counters for the immigration. And then she went on to say, Arunachal, not India, China, your visa not acceptable, your basically passport is invalid. Very confusing moment, obviously, because never heard of that before. We obviously are a proud Indian citizens, all residents of Arunachal Pradesh. And basically, she wouldn't give me an explanation. She wouldn't let me go back into the queue, said you cannot board the plane. Then other officials came. So actually, I probably interacted with around 10 other immigration officers. So another lady came, took me to another part of the airport. And in fact, when I tried to question them and ask them what was the issue, they said, Arunachal is not part of India, very clearly. And they said, you should apply, and started mocking and laughing and saying things like, you should apply for Chinese passport. You're Chinese, you're not Indian. Some mockery around there. Then basically they took me to the transfer desk of China Eastern, which is next to an immigration desk. And they would just keep basically sending me from one desk to the other. So if I ask the Chinese airline, they tell me to go to the immigration tells me to go to them. And they basically didn't give me a straight answer. I said, where is the law? What rights have you got to hold me back here? So ultimately, it took about 18 hours for me to get out of Shanghai. What is shocking to me is I have, in fact, transited through Shanghai in the past, a year ago, with no issues at all. In fact, the first time that I ever transited through China, I spoke to the Chinese embassy in London and they said, your passport is invalid.
This Indian origin UK resident from Arunachal Pradesh has alleged that Chinese immigration officials detained and harassed her for hours at the Shanghai Pudong Airport after refusing to recognize her Indian passport during a transit halt.
One of the officials basically came and started screaming, India, India, and with my name, and then she singled me out.
Prema Wangjom said she was traveling from London to Japan on November 21, 2025 with a scheduled 3-hour layover in Shanghai. The stopover stretched into an 18-hour ordeal after immigration officers allegedly declared her passport invalid because it listed Arunachal Pradesh as a place of birth. She stated that she was denied clear information, basic facilities, or proper food as the situation dragged on inside the airport's transit area.
They were just laughing and mocking me, basically, saying, you should apply for a Chinese passport, you're not Indian.
China disputes India's claims over Arunachal Pradesh and says the state has historical links to Tibet. Beijing refers to the region as Zangna or South Tibet and often cites Mao Zedong's Five Fingers policy, which viewed Tibet as the common areas like Arunachal as its fingers. The disagreement sharpened after the 1962 Sino-Indian War, when Chinese troops briefly entered parts of Arunachal before withdrawing. Since then, China has held on to its position through symbolic steps such as issuing stapled visas to people from the state. FYI, stapled visas are paper slips attached to a passport instead of a stamp and are used by China to signal that it doesn't recognize Arunachal Pradesh as a part of India.
ये ऐसे मुद्दे हमारे सरकार के साथ रेज करने की जगह नॉर्मल सिटीजंस नेशनल्स के साथ ऐसे हैरेसमेंट करके क्या उनको मिलेगा?
In Prema's case, she eventually reached the Indian consulate in Shanghai through a friend in the UK. Indian officials later escorted her to a late-night departure from the city. In a letter sent to Prime Minister Modi and senior officials, she described the treatment she faced as a direct insult to India's sovereignty and to the citizens of Arunachal Pradesh.
हम हमेशा ही इंडियन थे और रहेंगे, तो मुझे ये नहीं समझ आती कि ऐसे मुद्दों पे हम
food or access to airport facilities, and airline staff mocked her. Some even told her to apply for a Chinese passport. She was also pressured to buy a new ticket only from China Eastern, causing financial losses. She finally left Shanghai late at night with help from the Indian consulate. Prema has written to Prime Minister Modi, calling the incident a direct insult to India's sovereignty and demanding action against those responsible.
Arunachal is part of China.
This
Your
is what
passport
Chinese
is
immigration
invalid.
officials allegedly told Indian origin UK resident Prema Wangjom Thongdok at Shanghai Pudong Airport. Prema, born in Arunachal Pradesh, was traveling from London to Japan on November 21st with a 3-hour transit in Shanghai. But when officials saw her passport showing Arunachal Pradesh as her place of birth, they declared it invalid. According to Prema, one officer even shouted, "India, India!" and took her back to immigration, saying, "Arunachal Pradesh is part of China. Your passport is invalid." Prema says she was detained for 18 hours. Her passport was seized. She wasn't given proper food or access to airport facilities, and airline staff mocked her. Some even told her to apply for a Chinese passport. She was also pressured to buy a new ticket only from China Eastern, causing financial losses. She finally left Shanghai late at night with help from the Indian consulate. Prema has written to Prime Minister Modi, calling the incident a direct insult to India's sovereignty and demanding action against those responsible.